coffee and today's guest here with me, so we're ready to roll. Welcome to our Circular Coffee Break podcast, where we'll be casually talking about everything circular and beyond. Now, we're eager to bring a fresh perspective to the ongoing conversation around circularity and sustainability. And with each guest and each episode, we're looking to explore new facets of that. But it's basically not me and the guest talking, but we want to hear from all of you out there. So we hope you can share your thoughts, ideas, and send us your questions. For that, either visit our website, circularcoffeebreak.com, or drop us a line at circularcoffeebreak@gmail.com. So let's keep the conversation going and make the podcast a reflection of all our unique perspectives. And for that, we need all of you. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Our guest today is an experienced innovation professional with a wide range of knowledge in the metals and engineering industry. With expertise in innovation, strategies, management, and processes, as well as future digital manufacturing technologies and systems, he has a very strong background in national and EU-level research and innovation development programs. He started off his career at Fastens, where he worked for over 22 years in innovation development and research, and currently he serves as a co-creation manager and head of the Sustainable Industry X initiative at VTT, the Technical Research Center of Finland, where he helps industrial companies succeed by fostering collaboration between research and industries. Through the work with the SIX initiative, he helps basically to supercharge Finnish industry performance and sustainable growth through innovation and knowledge. Welcome to the show, Harri Nieminen.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Great to have you, Harri. And I think we have a really interesting topic today around data and battery life cycles. And maybe to get us started, could you give us a short overview of the Sustainable Industry X or SIX initiative, and in specific, the project that you have been involved in around battery life cycle data utilization?
Yes. The question is broad, and so is the answer. So basically, SIX, Sustainable Industry X, is a national initiative for our industry renewal in Finland. It's kind of a toolbox helping us implementing our national level strategies and programs in an industry-driven way. The SIX mobile machines, in turn, it is one of tools in SIX toolbox. It is one of our industry-driven clusters doing implementation in real life. SIX mobile machines is an industry-driven mobile machines focused structure cluster with ambitious vision about our operating environment. And according to this vision, by the year 25, Finland will be the best place on this planet for developing mobile machines and their key technologies. The cluster companies in SIX mobile machines, as well as their research partners, they have created an actionable joint roadmap showing the way where the industry is headed. And our project around battery lifecycle data utilization, more specifically more data, is actually one part of roadmap implementation. And it deals with polycentric data utilization and also new value enabled by battery data.
Interesting. And I mean, to follow up there a little bit, you talked about heavy machinery, the industry context. Based on your experience, how can we optimize the life cycle of batteries in that context to ensure sustainability and circularity? Because batteries with the electrification of our whole life, basically, and the industries and companies and processes are becoming more and more important. So, what is your experience there? So, what does it take to optimize the life cycle of batteries?
We actually started from key enablers and right after that dived into business cases, as it is industry-driven cluster. So from enabler side, in future, every single product and also key components of products, they will have a unique ID, and it's pretty much like a social ID of the product. And in this specific ID, we can connect as built data from manufacturing and also as used data from product use over the life cycle of the product. And this kind of a capability is actually a strong enabler for totally new unseen value and optimization of the life cycle in various forms. This kind of a capability enables different optimization schemes over the life cycle of the battery. Some examples: information for battery innovation development in order to see better performing batteries in future. Optimization of mobile machine performance by utilizing battery data, so exceeding those promises we have originally given to our customers. Also enabling and optimizing second life use of batteries, it's one thing. And at the end of life of batteries, enabling shorter R cycles for circularity.
That's very interesting, because I think also with a lot of the regulatory initiatives we see around the digital product passport for batteries as well as for other products, as you mentioned, there's a very strong push towards opening up the data and basically making the data available, which currently is still very closed and not accessible by the different parties. Now, where do you see specific challenges around the management of these battery life cycles, specifically in that transition from the first to the second life of batteries, but also in recycling, because that's very often where you have handover points where then also data and information needs to be handed over between different parties?
What is quite obvious, transitioning batteries from first life use to second life, it is not doable if battery properties and battery state are unknown. So by collecting and utilizing data, we will know when the battery is not anymore performing in mobile machines at its best. And we are able to transfer battery to just right kind of a second life application at the optimal time when it comes to battery life cycle. And when battery is finally ready for recycling, information from manufacturing and information from use enable those shortest possible R cycles for battery components. And many parts of data needed is already being collected, but it is not visible at the point of need at the moment. So basically access to data, it is vital, and it's still a big challenge in a big picture.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And And when we think about the utilization of data in this context, there's naturally a balance between the need to share the data, as you said, in order to enable shorter R cycles, enable second life use cases, and so on. But on the other side, also privacy concerns, because I will collect data on how often I charged my car or the battery and things like that. And there's potentially very sensitive battery performance data that we're talking about here. And how do you see the need to address that? And what does consent play? What role does consent play in this sharing battery data across stakeholders? Cases and how can we ensure fair and ethical data practices? Have you looked into that? So how do we make sure that the data is there, but the data is handled, I guess, in a fair, transparent way, so that it doesn't touch the privacy rights of individuals or basically is used in the wrong way?
This is really a key question, and consent as such plays a crucial role in sharing battery data among different stakeholders. And it ensures that different players in value network have given permission for their data to be collected, shared, and used for specific purposes. And to ensure fair and ethical data practices, stakeholders should prioritize transparency in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
As an example, clearly communicating for the purpose of data collection and how it will be really used.
Mm-hmm.
Also implementing robust data governance frameworks, adhering to legal and also regulatory requirements, and obtaining explicit consent from data owners are essential steps in promoting fair and ethical data practices in the sharing of battery data among different stakeholders over the value network. This is, let's say, the general level, but I'd like to highlight also one more thing which is not so widely discussed. When it comes to data sharing, it's not actually upcoming value that enables data sharing. It's good to keep in mind when data is being shared, also some level of risk is always taken. And this risk is not always only related to misuse of data. It is in many times related to still unknown, potentially lost future business opportunities. And the emerging opportunities must be so attractive that they make you exceed the risk-taking threshold.
So that's a very interesting point. I think it's really about like what is the value you can actually create for the participating stakeholders that will basically incentivize them to actually share the data and use the data in different use cases. Now, what are in that context like business models or incentives that you see that can encourage companies to basically participate in this sustainable battery life cycle practices? Have you, because you've been working with quite a few companies in the context of the project, I mean, from Valmet Automotive, Sandvik, Kalmar, Ponce, Fortum, like really big companies. Have you looked into like the incentivization and the business models that they could use with that data?
Yeah, as this is industry-driven cluster, our approach is in let's say the most of the times very business oriented, and let's say that possibilities attract. And for this specific reason, in wider context, we shouldn't start from limitations set by, for example, different regulations and legislations. We should actually start from opportunities. And what kind of new features, functionalities, services, and businesses we enable over the value network and over the battery life cycle by utilizing battery data and also related capabilities. And when we have outlined the big opportunity picture, place this in regulation field. And by doing things this way, we can actually turn possible restrictions and limitations into opportunities, as well as potentially influence also on upcoming, for example, regulation.
I think that's a very interesting point, because I think in the regulatory field we see a lot of activities at the moment around, as we mentioned earlier, the DPP, the Digital Product Passport, and so on. How do you see like projects like yours, but also others? There's a lot of other things happening in companies, but also in projects. How do you see that with the interplay of the regulatory initiatives? Because I think that will be an important point. As you said, on one hand, yes, you need the regulation, but on the other side, you also need to develop the business value and the business cases, and you need to look at that. How do you see that interplay going forward?
Yeah, so you mean basically this interoperability between the different stakeholders?
Yeah, between different stakeholders, be it then manufacturers, operators, recyclers, but also the regulators, and how all of that basically comes together to basically enable that seamless data exchange when it comes to complying with regulatory requirements, but also develop and drive the business cases and the business value that you outlined.
Improving interoperability between stakeholders for seamless data exchange, it actually involves multiple elements. Standardizing data formats, implementing joint common protocols, and I'd like to say the most importantly, fostering collaboration through the value network. Additionally, establishing clear data governance frameworks and intensifying participation in different ways can further enhance those interoperability efforts.
No, I agree, and I think there's a lot going on at the moment in this area. If you talk about data spaces, data sharing, but also more specifically around batteries and other product types. Now, what efforts are, in your experience, being made to drive that standardization and enable that cooperation for battery data formats and basically the definition across industries? Because I think we're talking about a very cross-industry type of setup here, where you're not just operating in one single industry, but you basically need to connect industries and companies that historically might not have been working together in the context of their operations.
Lots of activities are going on at the moment. In the realm of battery data standardization, various organizations and consortia are actively working to develop standardized data formats and also definitions. And also rising regulation storm, including, for example, Data Act, product passport requirements, are in their own part speeding up all this ongoing development. efforts mentioned aim to create uniformity in how battery data is collected, stored, and exchanged across the industry and value network in wider context, thus facilitating interoperability between different stakeholders. Also, additionally, various innovation development activities and other collaborations between academia, industry, and public sector players further contribute to standardization efforts in this specific field.
Very interesting. And I think, as you said, I mean, it will accelerate and there will be more and more initiatives as we see more and more focus around sustainability and circularity. And I mean, I think circularity only works with the right level of underlying data exchange and data utilization. And I think what we talked about is a very good example of that. Now, the coffee is unfortunately empty, and it's time to wrap up the episode of the Circular Coffee Break. Thanks a lot, Harri, for joining me today and for providing a perspective on the battery life cycle and the importance of data and data exchange in that context.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Great. Now, for all you listening out there, as always, we hope the episode today provided you with a new perspective, with some new insights on what I think a very important and very relevant topic, the circulation of batteries or the usage of batteries in second life use cases and then recycling. If you like the podcast, you can help us out growing the Circular Coffee Break community by giving us a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're downloading your podcasts. Also, please remember to subscribe to stay in the loop. We already have a lot of really interesting perspectives, topics, and guests lined up for the second season of the podcast. So make sure you stay in the loop. Episodes drop every 2 weeks, and we're looking forward to provide you with new insights. That was today's episode. Everything left is to thank you for listening today, for joining us. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all here at the Circular Coffee Break podcast.